There's something about 3 a.m. that just feels heavier than any other hour. Like the world is holding its breath. The silence is different, not peaceful, but expectant, like it knows something's coming and doesn't want to be the one to say it first. That was the hour the phone buzzed on my nightstand. I blinked awake, groggy, throat dry, and fumbled for it in the dark. The screen glowed cold and pale, washing over the ceiling like moonlight through fog. Monica. The name alone was enough to jolt me upright. My wife. She said she'd be working late that night, urgent court filing, I remember her saying as she kissed my cheek on the way out. She even joked about how her boss was allergic to planning ahead. I smiled, told her to take it easy, and that I'd leave dinner in the fridge. That was around 6:30 p.m. 11 hours ago. I thumbed the answer button. Hello? My voice cracked from sleep. At first, I thought the call had dropped. But then I heard it, a sound I wasn't ready for. Crying. Not just quiet sniffles or a choked sob. These were gut-wrenching, breathless sobs that came in waves. My heart immediately dropped. I sat up, blankets bunched around my waist, pulse racing. Monica? I whispered, more alert now. Hey, what's going on? She didn't answer me. Not really. Her breathing was uneven, shaky. And then she said, just above a whisper, almost too soft to catch. If you get something, any files, don't open them. Just don't, okay? It didn't register at first. The words felt like puzzle pieces from two different boxes. I blinked, trying to piece them together. Wait, what? What files? What are you talking about? She didn't explain. She didn't elaborate. She just stopped talking. All I could hear was her breathing on the other end, fast, shallow, like she was trying not to drown. Monica, I said again, my voice more urgent now. Hey, look at me, metaphorically, whatever, talk to me. Are you okay? What files? Who's sending them? Nothing. Then the line cut. No click. No goodbye. Just that sterile silence followed by the end call tone that made my stomach turn. I stared at the screen like it would suddenly cough up answers. Then I checked the call duration, 54 seconds. That's it. Not even a full minute to upend my world. I sat there in the dark for a while. Long enough for the room to feel alien, like it didn't belong to me anymore. Like nothing did. My first instinct was to call her back. But I didn't. I don't know why. Fear, maybe? Not fear of what had happened, but of what she might say if she picked up. Don't open the file. That was what she said. Not I love you. Not I need help. Just that. Like she was bracing for something. Or hiding from it. And the way she said it, it didn't sound like a warning to protect me. It sounded like guilt. Like someone who knew a bomb was about to drop and wanted to cover their ears. I turned on the bedside lamp. The light felt too bright, too sharp. It made the shadows in the room stretch and shift like they were watching me. I reached for the hoodie on the chair beside the bed and pulled it over my head, suddenly cold despite the warmth of the house. My phone was still in my hand. I checked for a message. Nothing. No follow-up. No clarification. Just a call and that cryptic, broken plea. I stared at our wedding photo on the dresser for a long time. It was from 6 years ago, Monterey, California. Her hair was swept up by the sea breeze, and I remember we both looked ridiculously sunburned. She had that laugh, the real one, the unfiltered, eyes-closed kind that only showed up when she was truly happy. We were happy. At least, I thought we were. I got up, walked to the kitchen, and turned on the kettle out of habit. I wasn't thirsty. I just needed something to do with my hands. Something to fill the space. I stood there watching the blue flame dance beneath the metal, thinking about how strange this all felt. Like my life had just cracked, not in half, but diagonally. Clean breaks are easy to understand. This wasn't. And it wasn't the first time I'd had that thought. The more I stood there, the more moments started crawling back. Tiny things I'd filed under work stress or just a phase. Her texting more, but not smiling while doing it. Her phone going silent when I walked into the room. The sudden work trips. The late nights. The way she started showering as soon as she got home, like she was washing something off. I didn't want to go there, but now I was already neck-deep in it. I tried to remember the last time she told me she missed me. The last time she touched me without it being routine, a quick hug, a goodbye kiss at the door, mechanical and obligatory. I leaned on the counter and took a shaky breath. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe something happened at work. Maybe the file was a legal document she shouldn't have leaked. Maybe she was scared of being caught in some firm-related mess. Maybe. But my gut, the one that had always been reliable, the one that had kept me from buying into bad investments or walking into sketchy deals, it was screaming. And it wasn't about work. It was about her. I grabbed my phone again and opened her location. Yeah, we shared it. At least we used to. But when I pulled it up, there was nothing. No location found. My chest tightened. I texted her. You okay? No response. Monica, please? Nothing. And that silence, it was louder than anything. By now, the kettle was screeching like it wanted to break through the wall. I turned it off, poured the water, but left the mug untouched on the counter. I sat on the edge of the couch, phone in hand, screen unlocked, waiting for a buzz that never came. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. A car drove by. Life unaware. I was wide awake in a life I no longer understood. And a question sat next to me like an unwelcome guest, whispering over and over again. What was I not supposed to see? The thing about doubt is once it creeps in, it doesn't leave quietly. It doesn't tiptoe out the door and apologize for bothering you. No. It kicks its feet up on the coffee table and makes itself at home. That whole day I couldn't stop thinking about Monica's call. Her voice, that voice, was etched into my brain. I kept replaying it like some twisted voicemail. The sobs. The fear. The line cutting off. And that one haunting request. Don't open the file. I tried to rationalize. I really did. Told myself she was probably just overwhelmed. She's a high-level associate at one of those cutthroat firms where sleep is a luxury and 70-hour weeks are normal. Maybe she made a mistake at work. Maybe she clicked on something she shouldn't have. Maybe she's in trouble with a case. But deep down I knew. Not just because of the call, but because the call cracked open something I'd been trying to ignore. Memories started surfacing. Ones I had quietly shoved into the probably nothing folder. Like how, over the past 3 months, her hours had stretched thinner and thinner. Not just late nights at the office, but late nights where she'd come home already changed out of her work clothes. Makeup refreshed. Phone mysteriously low on battery despite being plugged in at her desk all day. Then there were the weekends. Monica used to be a weekend person. Brunches, walks by the lake, that weird little farmer's market she loved. Suddenly, all that was gone. She was either too tired or buried under filings. Half the time, she'd vanish into the home office for hours. Door locked. Curtains drawn. I asked once if she wanted to take a weekend trip, just the two of us. I even booked the hotel before telling her. She smiled almost sadly and said, that sounds amazing, but it's not a good time. It was never a good time. And then there were the smaller things. The ones you only notice in hindsight. Like how she started placing her phone face down at dinner. Like how she turned off read receipts, said it was for mental clarity. How she changed her passcode out of the blue and joked about it being law firm policy. None of it raised a red flag on its own. But now? Now it felt like the entire house was on fire and I'd just woken up to the smell of smoke. One memory in particular kept stabbing at me. About a month ago, I had taken the day off to visit my mom in the hospital. She was recovering from surgery, nothing too serious, but still, I wanted Monica with me. My mom adores her. When I asked if she could come, Monica got quiet. Then she sighed and said, I can't, Ty. There's a mandatory CLE training. On a Saturday? I asked. Yeah, it's a weird scheduling thing. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I believed her. Or at least, I forced myself to. Because love makes you do that. Makes you plug holes in the ship with your bare hands even when it's clearly going under. But the one that haunted me most, the moment that hit different now, was just 2 weeks ago. I was out running errands on a Sunday afternoon when I saw her. At a boutique on the north side, one of those intentionally overpriced to feel exclusive spots. She was standing in front of the display window, holding a blazer, talking to a guy. He was maybe mid-40s, clean-cut, in business casual. Sharp suit. Confident posture. I remember thinking he looked like he belonged in a leadership seminar. She was smiling. Not a quick, polite smile. A warm, lingering smile. And when she noticed me, her entire expression changed. Like someone hit a dimmer switch. Tyler, she said, a little too loud. This is Aaron. He's a family friend. From Michigan. Michigan? She doesn't have family in Michigan. Aaron gave me one of those firm, assertive handshakes. The kind that says I'm in control here without a single word. And the way she avoided eye contact, I felt it in my gut. Later that night, I asked her about it. Oh, Aaron? Yeah, he's from my mom's side. Kind of a second cousin. Didn't realize you had family in Michigan. Well, you know, extended stuff. We barely talk. I let it slide. That was mistake number 1. Looking back now, I can see it all so clearly, the building blocks of something she was trying hard to keep hidden. And I was so desperate to believe her, I ignored what was right in front of me. That afternoon after the call, I couldn't focus on anything else. Work emails piled up unanswered. I sat on the living room couch, staring at nothing, trying to piece the timeline together. When did it start? How long had she been lying? And most importantly, who else knew? I kept glancing at my phone, half expecting another message, a follow-up, something. But it stayed quiet. Like the silence itself was conspiring with her. I checked her social media even though I knew I wouldn't find anything. Monica was never the type to post publicly. All of her accounts were private. Controlled. Curated. Safe. Perfect in a way that now felt deeply suspicious. No photos of us in over a year. No tags. Just vague motivational quotes and occasional skyline *TS of downtown. She had always called it keeping things professional. But now I wondered, professional for who? I kept spiraling, thought after thought, memory after memory. It was like pulling a thread I couldn't stop, even though I knew where it was leading. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to replay every conversation we'd ever had. Trying not to dissect every delayed response, every stiff hug, every night she rolled over and faced the wall instead of me. The room felt colder than usual. At 3:04 a.m., exactly 24 hours since her call, I realized something simple and horrifying. I didn't know my wife. Not really. I knew pieces. A version she'd let me see. But the full picture? The one that included locked doors and deleted messages and whispers in a boutique? That one was still hidden. And whatever was in that file, the one she told me not to open, it wasn't just a clue. It was the truth she didn't want me to find. The next morning, the sun came up like nothing had changed. But I had. I didn't shower. Didn't shave. I just sat on the couch with a mug of coffee that went cold before I touched it. Kept staring at the same spot on the wall like it held answers I didn't know how to ask for. Around 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. It wasn't from Monica. It wasn't from anyone I knew. Just a plain, impersonal email. No name, no subject line. The kind of thing you'd usually swipe left without thinking. Except, there was an attachment. And one line of text. Make sure you don't miss this. My throat dried up instantly. I didn't even want to click on it. Every instinct told me to hit delete. But something in the pit of my stomach, something between dread and inevitability, made my finger hover. I tapped the file. It was a video. Security footage. There was a timestamp in the bottom corner, last Thursday, 8:42 p.m. One of the nights Monica claimed she'd been working late. Said she was staying at the office to prep a big motion due the next morning. I even remembered texting her goodnight and her replying, still here. Don't wait up. The video played in silence. A law office conference room, glass walls, soft lighting. Empty at first. Then Monica walked in. My heart rate spiked. She was in her work clothes, navy blazer, heels, that same simple necklace I'd bought her for our 3rd anniversary. She looked polished, collected, like any other late night at the firm. And then a man entered. Not her direct boss. I recognized him. One of the senior partners. Tall, graying at the temples, that effortless arrogance people in his position always seem to carry. He said something to her, leaned in. She laughed, I mean really laughed, head tilted back, the way she used to when I tickle her ribs during Sunday morning pancakes. Then he reached up and touched her face. It wasn't casual. It wasn't accidental. It was soft. Familiar. And then they kissed. Not quick. Not impulsive. Slow. Intentional. The kind of kiss you give when you know there's no rush, when it's not the first time. My chest tightened like the air had been vacuumed out of the room. I paused the video just before her hand landed on his chest. That was enough. I closed the app and set the phone down on the table like it was radioactive. My hands were shaking. I stared out the window, but I couldn't see anything. Not really. It was exactly what I feared. And somehow worse. It's one thing to suspect. To imagine. To theorize. But seeing it? Watching her lips on someone else's? It shattered something permanent. I don't know how long I sat there. Time kind of folded in on itself. The minutes felt like ash, useless and burnt out. I kept asking myself the same question over and over again. Why did she tell me not to open it? Because she knew. She knew it would find me. Whoever sent it, maybe a whistleblower from the office or someone who wanted to blow up her secret, she knew it was coming. She was trying to soften the blow. Or delay the inevitable. Or maybe she just didn't want to see herself through my eyes. But it was too late. I had seen everything I needed to see. The moment the file ended, I realized something terrifying. I didn't feel shocked. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt cold. Like part of me had shut off completely. Switched to survival mode. And maybe that was what I needed. Because the man I was yesterday, the guy who waited up, who made excuses for her, who ignored every red flag, that man couldn't handle this. But the man I was now? He could. I stood up, walked to the sink, dumped the cold coffee out. My hand trembled slightly, but I kept moving. Opened the drawer, pulled out my notebook, the one I always kept for emergencies, ironically titled Just in Case. I flipped to a clean page and started writing. Dates. Names. Times. Every moment I had doubted her. Every excuse she'd given. Every shift in her behavior. I wrote it all down like evidence at a trial. Not because I planned to confront her, not yet, but because I needed to understand the full weight of it. I had been building a story in my head for months, a version of our marriage that was still salvageable. That story was gone now. What I had instead was the truth. And the truth doesn't care how careful you are. It doesn't knock before it walks in. It just shows up through a screen, in a conference room, with a kiss that wasn't meant to be seen. I stared at my notes. 3 pages filled in less than 15 minutes. And not a single sentence of it felt unfamiliar. Because deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want to believe it until it played out in front of me. And now that it had, the only thing left to decide was what I'd do with it. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I didn't even touch the phone again after watching that video. I just sat. The apartment was dead quiet, like it was holding its breath along with me. Sunlight filtered through the blinds in thin gold stripes, slicing across the table where my notebook still sat, open to pages full of bullet points that looked more like scars. Every once in a while, I'd glance over at it like I expected something to change. A detail to soften. A reason to let it go. But nothing did. Nothing softened. Everything about it just hardened. It was funny, in a cruel sort of way. For months I'd blamed myself. Thought I wasn't doing enough. Maybe I was too busy, too distracted, not present. There were nights I lay awake wondering if I had lost my edge, if I'd grown too comfortable, too predictable. And all the while, she was kissing someone else in a conference room. I got up, still in the same clothes from the day before. My shirt was wrinkled and stale, but I couldn't bring myself to care. My body felt heavy, not tired, just weighted. Like something inside had shifted off balance and now everything was crooked. I walked into the kitchen and turned on the faucet. Watched the water stream for a while before finally turning the kettle on. Not because I wanted tea. Just because it was routine. And routine was the only thing I had left. As the water heated, I opened the cabinet to grab a mug and froze. It was there, the blue one with "World's Okayest Husband" printed in chipped letters. She bought it for me on our first anniversary as a joke. Said it made her laugh in the store and reminded her of me. I told her I was aiming for best and she winked and said, "Don't peek too soon." I stared at it for a long time. Then I put it back on the shelf and shut the cabinet. The doorbell rang. I didn't move. It rang again. Still, I didn't move. Who the hell was ringing my doorbell at? Then I remembered. Monica had said she'd scheduled a breakfast delivery. A surprise for the weekend, she'd texted 2 days ago. Just wait till you see what I picked out. I should have canceled it. Instead, I walked to the door and opened it. The delivery guy looked half asleep, holding a brown paper bag and a drink tray with 2 iced coffees. Monica?" he asked, glancing at the receipt. "Yeah," I said quietly, taking the bag. He nodded, offered a mechanical "have a good one," and walked off. I closed the door, set the bag on the kitchen counter, and stood there. I didn't open it. Didn't even look inside. Because how could I? How could I eat the breakfast she ordered when I just watched her build an entirely separate life behind my back? The juxtaposition was almost insulting. A kiss on Thursday. A croissant on Saturday. Like nothing in between even mattered. I stood by the window, arms folded, staring out at the courtyard below. 2 dogs chased each other around the bench where Monica and I used to sit on warm evenings, sharing takeout and talking about all the places we'd never been but swore we'd go someday. Lisbon. Santorini. The Oregon coast. The list went on, growing longer each year while we stayed anchored in the same spot. Except she hadn't stayed. She drifted off while I wasn't looking. And now that I realized how far she'd gone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there and felt the stillness of it. The betrayal wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't break down the door or announce itself. It just settled in. Quiet and cold. Like frost creeping in under the door. A truth I couldn't ignore anymore began circling in my head like a vulture. She didn't try to stop it. She didn't confess. Didn't fight with herself. Didn't stumble into this. She knew what she was doing. And she kept doing it. That's what made this hurt in a way I couldn't put into words. Because it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And worse, it was one she kept making. I walked back into the living room and sat on the windowsill with the untouched coffee, listening to the faint hum of the city waking up. Somewhere, across town, Monica was probably getting ready to come home, maybe thinking about how to lie, or whether to lie at all. Maybe she thought I wouldn't find out. Or maybe, and this is the one that gutted me, maybe she didn't care if I did. I thought about the wedding vows we exchanged 6 years ago in that lakeside garden in Door County. The laughter. The promises. The tears. What do those even mean now? Do they expire when nobody's looking? My phone buzzed on the table. A text from her. Good morning, love. Be home in a bit. Hope you like the surprise red heart. I stared at it, the red heart punctuating the end like a middle finger. Then I turned the screen off and whispered to the empty room. I saw the file. She walked through the front door like it was just another Saturday. Hair pulled into a loose ponytail, reusable shopping bag over one shoulder, dressed in the same worn hoodie she always wore when she wanted to seem extra domestic. I remember thinking how ordinary she looked, like a stranger disguised as my wife. She smiled when she saw me like she didn't have a secret burning a hole in her chest. Hey, babe, she said casually, kicking off her shoes. Sorry, I'm late. Trader Joe's was a madhouse. I said nothing. Her smile faltered just slightly. Enough for me to notice. I was sitting at the dining table. The video still on my phone. The screen dark, but the file waiting. Waiting like I had been all night. She walked into the kitchen and spotted the breakfast bag still sitting, unopened, untouched. You didn't eat? I shook my head once. No words. Her hand hesitated near the counter before she reached for one of the iced coffees. Something wrong. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. And when she finally met my eyes, something in her expression cracked. She blinked. Slowly. Like she could feel the air shift and didn't know why. I reached over and slid my phone across the table toward her. Didn't say a word. Just left it there face up. She didn't move at first. But her eyes flicked to the screen. And froze. Even before she tapped it, even before she played the video, she knew. I could see it. Her face drained of color. Her breathing changed. A sudden stillness settled into her shoulders, the kind you only see when someone's been caught before they can prepare for it. She picked up the phone. Tapped the file. I watched her watch herself. In that glass-walled conference room. With him. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just set the phone down slowly like it was fragile. Then she sat across from me, folded her hands in front of her, and whispered, I didn't want you to see that. I stared at her. Just stared. Not blinking. Not moving. Waiting. Ty, she said quietly, I can explain. No, I said. The word hit the table like a gavel. She tried again. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she looked down as if suddenly ashamed of the hands folded neatly on the table in front of her. I let the silence sit there. I wanted her to feel it. To squirm under it. To sit in the tension she created. She looked up again, and this time her eyes were glassy. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I stayed quiet. I was feeling trapped, she said, her voice breaking. Like I was suffocating in my own life. I tilted my head slightly. That old feeling of being dissected came back, like I wasn't a person to her anymore, just a reflection of her regret. And your solution, I said slowly, was to find someone else to breathe with. She looked away. Tears rolled down her cheeks now, but they felt too late. Too clean. I didn't want to hurt you, she said. But you did. She covered her face with both hands, and her voice came out muffled, thick with tears. I panicked when I found out someone recorded it. I didn't know who sent it. I didn't want you to see me like that. I clenched my jaw. You were afraid of how I'd see you, I said. Not what you'd done. That was the difference. That was the truth. She didn't fear the act. She feared the consequences. She wiped at her face, breathing hard now. Tyler, please. This wasn't about love. It wasn't serious. It was convenient. She winced. Monica, I said, my voice quieter, but steadier now. You knew it would reach me eventually. She didn't deny it. Just whispered, yeah. And in that moment it was clear this wasn't a mistake she tripped into. It was a room she walked into with both eyes open. She leaned forward, her voice softer now, shaking. I miss us. I miss who we used to be. I've been under pressure and I've been selfish, I know that. But I still love you. I do. I let the words fall to the floor between us. I didn't pick them up. She reached across the table, her fingers trembling. Ty, please. Say something. I looked at her hand. Then back at her. And for the first time in 6 years of marriage, I said nothing. Because silence, real silence, says more than words ever could. She pulled her hand back like I'd slapped it. And in that moment, I knew the gap between us wasn't something we could talk through. It was a canyon now. And neither of us was crossing it. She stopped crying eventually, but only because there was nothing left to cry about. The silence swallowed everything. When she finally spoke again, it wasn't an apology, it was blame. You stopped being alive, Tyler, she whispered. You were here, but not here. I felt alone. I needed something. I laughed not because it was funny but because it was such a predictable pivot. I'd heard the stories. When cheaters run out of denial, they rewrite the past. You didn't just cheat, I said. You checked out and left me behind but didn't have the guts to say it. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Do you love him? The question had the air out of the room. She didn't answer. That was all I needed. I packed a bag, didn't say goodbye. Booked a room at a small lodge outside the city, one we'd stayed at years ago before things got complicated. It felt poetic. Full circle. There, I filed for divorce. She texted, called, left voicemails. None of them mattered. The moment I watched that file, something in me closed. But something else opened. I realized I wasn't walking away from love, I was walking towards self-respect. She chose her path. Now, I was choosing mine. And for the first time in a long, long while, I could finally breathe.